Okay, today, me, Miss Kayana here, we're going to be speaking about the violence that's going on in the black community and how can we overcome it or how can we help one another. See, I started Man on a Mission simply because I was tired of seeing the black people in our community killing one another, the mothers crying, the fathers also, absentee fathers. So this is something that's important for our community, and I really want to get down to different methods and different opinions based off how we feel about it personally, and also a way that we can help you all change. So, Miss Kiana, what do you think about the black community and things that we can actually do to change?
So whenever I'm thinking about the black community, one thing that I find is that over time, I found that a lot of the values and a lot of what's going on today has been ingrained in that community for some time, just because of what's going on in history between slavery to Reconstruction to the Jim Crow laws to Black Code, all of that, and so it's all played a role. Just like the black community, I know that money definitely does run the world, whether it be in China, Africa, wherever the case may be. But one thing that I find is that within the black community, especially during Reconstruction, after Abraham Lincoln did the Emancipation Proclamation, and then after the abolition of slavery, during Reconstruction, a lot of the blacks started moving north for jobs. They were promised all these jobs. They started migrating into communities. They were doing well for some time. But then over time, what I found is that once the whites started moving out is whenever they started taking the jobs away from those communities. So a lot of black people had to start thinking to themselves, like, how am I going to be able to fend for myself? How am I going to be able to fend for my family? How am I going to be able to make this money? So that's whenever you start seeing, drugs within the community, and you start seeing alcoholism, and you start seeing blacks doing what they have to do in order to survive. And so I definitely think that it's something that's been ingrained into the community, and to be honest with you, because our school system is lacking right now, and they're not really teaching our kids about these things that happen and why they're in the situations that they're in, that's why you're seeing that a lot of this is still occurring. But I definitely think in order for this to happen, in order for us to grow from this, I do think that education is a way out. And I don't mean that you just have to go off to college. You don't have to go to trade school. You don't have to have post-secondary education. But if we can really get people within the community that are willing to teach their own kids, or even teachers within the community that are willing to teach these kids something that's outside of that history book that they're reading that's already whitewashed, then I know that they'll be able to learn a lot from their history and also grow from it and figure out ways that they can maneuver through that. So definitely one thing that I wanted to ask you is, so I know right now, especially in the media, the black community and even the brown community is portrayed as this violent community compared to white communities. Of course, you always hear them say, like, the black man this, the black man that. So I definitely want to ask you, like, where do you see things going? Do you think that there is a problem? Because I know that the media definitely portrays that there is a problem, but sometimes we also know that the media can lie and they can say things just so that they can get those views and get the money in their pockets. So I also just want to ask you, like, do you see there being a problem in the community? Especially, I know that you're from Memphis, and I know in especially urban communities, usually that's where they say most of the problem is, because there is a larger sum of black and brown children and people there. So what is your take on it?
Well, basically, I think there is a problem, and it's just been in our face for a while. Like you said, like, people actually don't understand how to change. So the way they are going against the system, the so-called system, is the only way they know how, and that's violence. That's through riots. That's through things of the nature. So what they're doing, I really don't agree with it totally, but they're listening, and that's the most important thing. Whoever they're going up against, the whole entire system, they're listening because that's how they are forced to react. So I wish that we had a different method of doing it, but I'm more focused on the violence against one another, the black-on-black violence. When it comes to the riots, that's not the fight against the blacks. The fight against the blacks is us killing each other, and that's what my main mission is. My Man on the Mission is really about the black man killing this black man and not caring about it. The mother's crying. The kids not having fathers. We get sent off to the penitentiary, and another man gets sent off to the grave. We both losing. So the most important thing for me is to find out how can we overcome the challenges from ourselves. So I understand exactly what you're saying as far as people not understanding their history, you know. And like we were talking about earlier, okay, now we understand that they don't know their history. So to recreate new history, will it be right? Will it be wrong? To create history start for today. If you know your past history, you know where you've been. A lot of people say you know where you're going. So once you can't find out where you've been, so like today, you got a lot of guys and a lot of ladies that love social media. That's another reason why I seeked out through YouTube to try to find ways that we can sit back and understand and be like, how can we help the black community? So I think that people like yourself, you know, the degree that you have, you know, you didn't tell people the degrees you have, but I wanted you to know, let them know. So I'm gonna stop right here, let these people know who you are.
So as Mr. Neal said here, I am Kayana Ayetmi. I have my bachelor's in political science, emphasizing in foreign relations, and I have a minor in French.
See, that's what we need in the black community these days. Somebody that know how to educate, because you got a lot of people that learn differently. You got a lot of guys that wouldn't get in front of a video camera and record themselves or sit in front of a book. How can we reach them people? And people like this right here, she's the type of people that we need on our team. So in my instance, when it comes to Man on the Mission, I'm trying to find out the people that coming from where I came from. You know, the jailhouses. You know, because I was in prison for a certain amount of years, over 8 years. You see my video, you'll know. The guys that still toting their guns. You know, the guys still feeling those violence is the only way of handling business. Those are the guys that I'm aiming for right now, so we can be the one that's marching. Like in Memphis, I saw a lot of rallies where it's real life gangbangers is out there arm in arm and showing that they love and they're supporting too. That's important for us to know that they are willing to march and they're willing to stand by you whenever there's a problem. We need more of that. We actually need more of people and men in the community to stand up against violence. That's the most important thing because you can't fight the system if you're dead. That's the most important thing. If we're killing off each other, how can we fight the opposition? When we feel as though like we're the problem. We're killing each other basically because we're around each other the most. Because down the street you see a black, around the corner you see a black, next door you see a black. So 9 times out of 10 you're going to kill somebody of your same color. That's important to know. But how many brothers are willing to save the next man? That's what I'm talking about. How many brothers are willing to go through this whole challenge and try to find a way to help the next man instead of putting them down? Instead of the first thing you want to do is put a gun on them. That's why man, that's why we pushing. So you can understand that it's more to life, there's more options that you can take. So Ms. Kayana, when it comes to the inner city youth, how do you think that we can reach them?
So really, to be honest with you, for the inner city youth, I definitely just believe that it's the matter of putting people in there that look like them. The reason why I say that is because I grew up in a community where I have had predominantly black people in the community. I grew up in Winona, Mississippi. If people know that, it's a small town. Blacks live over here, whites live over here. So I've been in a community like that. But I've also, once I moved up here to Poplar Bluff, Missouri, I've also lived in a predominantly white community. And what I found is that a lot of the blacks here, like, one thing that I found is a lot of whites see it as the blacks are trouble. They see it as, like, we're the ones that's causing all the violence that's maybe going on around here. We're the ones that's going around shooting places up. We're the ones robbing people. But as soon as white people do it, they don't say anything. But they always try to put it on a black person or maybe feel like we're sensitive whenever we talk about certain topics. But one thing that I found is that even in rural communities, even whenever it comes to urban communities, I mean, all blacks are the same. And I think that especially whenever you do have people that look like you that can be in those classrooms or people that look like you that can be within those communities that may be doing things for that community and doing well for that community, then those kids are going to look at it like, man, I never knew that someone that looks like me could do it. And another thing, like, even though a lot of people, especially in rural communities, especially in predominantly white communities, a lot of people will say that there is not a problem when there is, especially but they're finding ways to cover it up, even if it's just like talking about your hair because your hair isn't like theirs. They find it becoming of you for you to wear your hair straight, but if you wear your hair like with weaving or you have like if you have box braids or if you have locks or anything like that, the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to discriminate based on that because they're finding ways to maneuver around it while also making it seem like it's not a problem. It's not a problem that you're black, but it's just a problem of your hair. Whenever the problem, you wouldn't have that hair if you was not black. Just being honest. So I definitely think that when we have people in the communities, especially people that are authentic about it, but also willing to talk to kids about it's okay to be your authentic self. You don't have to change yourself in order to be seen in the world or in order to be accepted by the world or this world that, to be honest with you, a system that wasn't even built for you. You don't have to do that. But whenever students and even like young kids see that they have someone in the community that looks exactly like them, wears the same hair as them, and things like that, they're going to look at it as like, man, I don't have to change myself to do it. She's doing it. He's doing it. So I definitely can see myself in them.
And I really like that. And I enjoy what you speaking on it, too. And that's another reason why I'm so in tune with Man on a Mission, because the guys that's around my age, they can feel where I'm coming from. I was in their shoes before. You know, I done went through those trenches. I actually done been in those drains where you been. So they can look at me like, man, that man really changed. And when it comes to the youth, by men just being in their kids' life after they've changed their lives, because you can't say that you want your children to be better, but you're still thugging, you still carrying guns. The child is gonna emulate everything that you do. So you gotta change first. So once you change, the child is gonna fall right behind their father, because it's something about the love of a father. It's just something that never goes away. Like, I met my father when I was like 20-some years old, but the love is still there. Like he was there from day one. You know, no matter when your father comes into your life, accept him. If he's willing to accept you, and he's willing to go through the remainder of the battle with you, allow him to be there. The chaperone, allow him to be there. A lot of guys these days are so skeptical to go back into those families or dealing with those children because they feel as though they're not going to be accepted. It's like the child is too old. Oh, man, I'm not going to deal with this. So they'll rather go to another family and build those children up. Now, go back to those children that really need help. The one that's 14, 15 years old that's still carrying a gun. So it's important for the father to be in their lives, and the community of men that's around, they step up and be in them children's lives too and stop sending them out to do stupid things. And because that's exactly how I got into where I was in. I was a follower of grown men hanging out on the block holding the gun. Hey, shorty, hold this. They became my father. They taught me. School didn't teach me. They taught me how to be in the street. The men that I walk around and give me dollars, they give me 50 cents because, you know, these days or back then you had to financially touch somebody for them to start listening to you, because a lot of our pockets was really dry. Mama couldn't make it. Mama working 2 jobs. So it's very small for us to get money. So the people that's on the corner, they gave us money. Those people that we look up to. And that's what I say that's very important for the man in the community, the man that's around the house, the man that's dating the mother of the house, to get involved in children's lives. I got another question for you.
Can I test what you just said just a minute?
Yes, you can. I got to sneeze, so I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, kind of what you said, one thing that I wanted to touch on is like, even for children, it's important for them to have their fathers. I know that you talked about black boys in particular having their fathers, and if they're not in the household, sometimes they go out in the streets and then they find these people that end up getting them involved in the streets, and that's how this cycle keeps going. But I also know that, especially from my own perspective, I know that for a long time I didn't have a father in my life. And sometimes, even when I remember as a young kid, from anywhere between 7 till I graduated from high school, I remember I was going on a path that wasn't right. Like, I started hanging around with the wrong people. I started letting some of the men in my life that really shouldn't have even been in my life, and I started letting people take advantage of me. And one thing that I found, and I know that like Nico said, he says I'm educated, but I can honestly say there was one book that I read that really made me realize some of the things that I was going through whenever I was growing up. And the name of the book is called What Happened to Daddy's Little Girl, a story of why it's hard for black women to grow up without their fathers. And for a long time, like, I never thought that there was anything wrong with me. I always just thought I'm very open. I accept anyone. I can talk to anyone. I can mess around with anyone. I can I can let people do whatever they want to me just because of the simple fact of that's just how I was feeling. But I didn't know deep inside, like, a part of it was the fact that I didn't have a father that was present. I had my stepdad there, but to be honest with you, I mean, he wasn't my father. So I definitely think that because, especially for black girls that know, like, hey, I know who my father is, but he doesn't want to be around, or I know my father, and you know, and he doesn't want to be around because of my mom or whatever the case may be. I mean, I definitely think that because of, and to be honest with you, I'm gonna talk about history all day, but it does go back to history. Whenever you have black men that were trying to do right and trying to raise their kids up, and then you have the slave master who takes away their kids, or takes away the children, or takes away the wife, or takes away the husband, and now these kids are growing up without a father, but yet they have to go in the fields and slave all day. Like, that's a system that's continuously gone, and they're continuing to put that into our kids' heads so that whenever they grow up, they can go out here and make all these kids and not be fathers. So I definitely think that, like Miko said, like, a father in the household is definitely important. It's important for a man to have a father in his life, but it's also important for a woman to have in his life, and that's all I got to say about that. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
I really enjoyed it. So, let me ask you this question. So, do you think that y'all see what's going on? Y'all see I'm out here doing an interview with Bugs. Do not want to let me do that. So, what do you think about a stepfather being in a child's life? Do you think that a stepfather can be the real dad?
No, I definitely think that. Just to kind of give you an example, I have a friend that when she was not with her daughter's father at all. Even whenever she got pregnant, she told him about it, but she was never with him. He never came around anything. While she was pregnant, a man came into her life. She started dating him, and ever since then, that man has raised that little girl like she's his. And I can honestly say, you know, that was her father. She doesn't know anyone else. But in instances like that, not every kid is going to be that lucky. So, like, if especially for older kids, sometimes it's hard for them to accept the fact that they do have a stepfather that's coming into the household, or either maybe there's just different views that they have, so they're always clashing together. But me personally, I definitely think that in some instances, I think that it's good, even if it's just a man, as long as he's really instilling values into those kids. Even if they're not his, I mean, that's a father. But if you can go over here and you can just say, oh, I'm marrying their mom, but I'm not going to really accept that kid, then really, to be honest with you, that's really not even a man. But I definitely think, like, a man in the household, regardless of if it's the biological father or not, they can be a father. Even if it's just an uncle that comes into the household, they can be a father. But if it's someone that's just there, not instilling those values, and they're just there, and they think that just because they're there, that means something, it doesn't. Trust me, my grandfather was like a father to me, my uncle was like a father to me, but I haven't had anyone else like that, and they're both gone and in their graves. But, you know, recently me and my father, we actually rekindled our relationship. So, I mean, one thing that I will say, especially for those out there that maybe you haven't had your father in your life, but then all of a sudden they come into your life unexpectedly, like, definitely let that happen. Don't hold that grudge because it's only hurting you. But at the same time, definitely make sure that you are taking the chance because life is short. But if they don't want that relationship, definitely don't force it.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from because in many instances, I think a stepfather can be stronger than the actual father if his mind right. And you're right about that because I had a stepfather in my life. You know, I didn't. I wouldn't say he was the best person, but he showed me some type of values. But I had an uncle that was like a father to me. From the disciplinary, I'm talking about from the financial side, he was there. So they really helped me get morals, and they really taught me the work ethic that I have today. And it taught me and what's instilled in me today. Even though I let it get past sometimes, you know, I still have those ethics that I move on, and it's about respect, it's about loyalty, it's about dedication. There's certain things that you do. I'm very ambitious, so I got a lot of that instilled in me through him. But I don't want to get too far off the subject because it's really about understanding what's my mission and what's my goal. You know, by me starting this, and I really thank you for coming out today. You know, she's supposed to be on camera, but she said she don't want to be on camera because she got her issues, I guess. But our next video is what we're gonna be talking about. Right now is part one. And I want to thank everybody that tuned in. I want to thank everybody that actually views it, share, and like it. But part two will be coming soon about Man on the Mission with Miss Kayana. And I thank y'all for watching. That's it.